Have a look at this. Just Joe hasn't got a cushion left. Look at Joe.
So tall it doesn't matter.
Everyone was having a lovely time just sitting around and sort of chewing the fat, but all of a sudden we thought, hang on a sec, we haven't got enough room here to introduce my next guest, Mr. Ron Casey. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on the show, and thanks for going to so much trouble too, because Ron, of course, does a great radio program in Sydney on 2KY, and he made special efforts to get here today. That play on was I still call Australia home. In recent times, the controversial side of the Ron Casey story has been how you see Australia and how you want it to be. I think on a couple of occasions, Ron, whether people agree with you or not, you haven't... We're just fixing the cushions still, are we? 6 out of 10 for the Pratt. 6 out of 10 for the Pratt.
That's the first time Joe Bugner's ever taken a dive.
Yeah, what about that?
Thank you, Ron.
Are you old mate? Oh, of course you have to be old mates because you're
yes,
the boss.
yes.
We go back years.
He's always on my side because he's so big.
Yes.
I walk into the
Good
room and
point.
say, Joe, you're on my side.
The only man I know, seriously, but the only man I know who can clear away a bottle of Camus cognac with me is Ron.
You fancy a sip, do you, Ron? Speaking of drinks, I might just move my water
Shouldn't
too.
have said
Just in case. I'd like to know one thing. I've got a little glass here. It's not mine, but it's steaming.
Hot water, that is.
Oh, is that yours,
That's
Samantha?
mine. It's very good for the throat.
You'd be a
Bert.
cheap date.
Hot water or tea?
Oh, lovely.
It is hot though.
Yes. Or do you want me to put it back there where it won't burn you anymore?
Probably a good idea.
Okay, that's lovely of you. Very homely show, isn't it? Very homely show. Ron, I was saying that I think on a few occasions you haven't been given a real opportunity of expressing what you feel without people interrupting. We're not going to interrupt. What do you want Australia to be?
Very concisely and very shortly, I want Australia to be one nation. I want us all to be happy with each other, and I want us to know that in 20 and 30 years' time that our future generations of Australians are going to live in an Australia something like the way it is today. Now, people think I'm anti-Asian. I'm not. All I want to know is some statement from the government. How many Asians are going to come into this country in the next 20 or 30 years? What is the objective of the Asian community? What is the government's objective with its immigration policy? And also, do we want to proceed with being 140 different nations, or do we want to be one nation? And every time you have a poll, although I don't believe in telephone polls, it's always 80-85% say they're not in favour of multiculturalism. Now, this is probably the greatest, single most important issue that any Australian can face. And yet, our major parties, the Libs, the Labor and the Democrats, they've all got a bipartisan approach. They will not discuss immigration. They will not discuss multiculturalism. Now, if you can tell me that's democracy and we can't have a say what the future of Australia is going to physically look like, well, something's terribly wrong.
Okay, you talk about 104 nations in
40.
140.
Yes, 140 different nations have migrants in Australia.
Okay, doesn't it take some time? Well, obviously it takes time to assimilate. And haven't the great nations of the world been built on that premise?
No. There is no nation in the world, despite what propagandists for the institutionalised multicultural leaders, the ethnic leaders, the people that earn their money from working for the government to keep multiculturalism moving, there is no country in the world that's been successful with a multicultural society. There is none.
Well, where do we get our people from then?
Oh, we get our people all right, and we have respect for their background, and of course if they wish to be practising Muslims or they wish to be practising Jews or whatever, we have respect for them, but ultimately their children or their children's children will become Australians and will all be Australians. But multiculturalism, nobody seems to quite grasp this point. Multiculturalism doesn't mean that. Multiculturalism means that in 3 and 4 generations, if you wish, you can still be a practising Muslim, living as though you were back in Iran or Iraq, still just happen to be domiciled in Australia.
But didn't the Irish do that? earlier this century?
But the Irish... see, if you come from a race of people like the Irish as I do, and you have a war for 700 years with the English and you can't win, well then you've got to start to mix in. And that's what the Irish did. And of course...
Eventually, though, didn't
eventually,
they? I mean,
yes.
the reason I know a little about it...
Some of us did.
Yeah. I've got both Germanic and Irish blood in me. I'm the only person who goose steps on St Patrick's Day. But my ancestors, took a long, long time before they actually got into...
But Bert, this is where we sort of don't have a clear definition of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is not just having respect for other people's cultures and other people's ways. It's much more than that. It means that they have the right to have their own community, and that community will be sustained by the government, and they can go on in 20, 30 years' time being just the same as they are now. And there's no pressure on them to become Australians. No pressure on them to intermarry with the rest of Australia, as the Irish have done, as the Germans, the Italians, the Greeks.
Sure. Ron, I'm playing devil's advocate, as you realise.
Sure.
But what's the most important thing? Somebody in their heart to work hard for a country and love a country, or to have a piece of paper?
No, I don't believe in forced citizenship. Not for 1 second. That's not my idea. My idea is that we have a society whereby we respect other people's cultures and where they came from, but they also understand and respect our culture. See, in the last 10 years, we've almost denigrated being an Australian, because what we've done is to try and make out that, well, we make other people so welcome that we've got so much to learn from them that we haven't got much to offer. I don't accept that. I think being an Australian is a great thing. And the people that are coming as migrants now, their children in a generation or two should be sitting here like you and I are now. Oh, my great-grandfather came from Turkey, but I am now an Australian of Turkish descent.
But why isn't that going to happen? That'll happen anyway, won't it?
It's not happening because government policy, and this is where the public doesn't understand the trick the government is up to. Multiculturalism means, and you have state government employees whose full-time job it is to keep multiculturalism alive, is to keep the community separate, and not to encourage them to interblend and intermarry and become one Australia. See, Howard lost the leadership of the Liberal Party because he emphasised the need for one Australia. Whereas, as it is now with multiculturalism, the bipartisan approach, what you've got is an Australia that I think will be divided into different tribes, and in 20 and 30... And besides that, I've yet to speak to an Asian leader who'll tell me what the upper number is, what their objective is in 20 years, 30 years' time for the number of, shall we say, Chinese who are going to come and live here. Is it going to be 30% of our total population? Have you ever heard a politician say to you, look, in 30 years' time, we want 4 million Chinese in Australia, and they will take up 40% of our population? Nobody talks figures. It's all nebulous.
OK, right, let's just hold it there for a second. You mentioned before polls. Now, I know that they can't always be accurate for lots of obvious reasons, but just let's have a look at the audience here. Now, this is an audience that has come in to see a daytime television program, and I would imagine that many of the people sitting there come from varying backgrounds, obviously. The simple question I'd ask is, what Ron Casey talks about, not just today, but generally, does it make sense to you? Do you believe that his opinion should be listened to? Is there any motivation? No, by raising a hand, does he make sense? Yes. No, just put your hand down, please, John, because they feel that they've got to do it because you're putting yours up. Just put your hand up if you believe that Ron Casey has a good argument. That would be what? Close to half the audience, I would suggest, John? About half the audience. And I would think, I'm pleased that was the result, because I would think that's about how we feel in Australia. There are half of us who want to have this argument taken to some sort of logical conclusion, and there are others who don't want to hear any argument, rightly or wrongly.
You're right. Hawke's little multicultural outburst the other day, and his program is doing more to drive a wedge down the middle of Australia and between the various ethnic communities in Australia than anything else he could have done. I don't like even the word ethnic. I would like to call them ABCs, Australians by choice. Now, that's a far less divisive word than ethnic. I don't like the term New Australian. See, you've got to understand, I'm not against migrants coming to this country, but I want to have not I, but I want the government to have some say in where they come from, what the composition of Australia is going to be in the future, and sometime in the future, 20 or 30 years' time, I'd like us to be one unified nation. And I'd like us to be able to say, yes, it's great to be an Australian. Now, if that sounds like corny patriotism, then so be it. But that's the way I'd like it to be. And I'm most surprised that only half the audience can grasp what I'm trying to say today.
It's a start, though, isn't it?
No, it's not a start, because usually the result is 80%, and you've let me down, audience.
Thank Ron Casey, would you please, ladies and gentlemen.